Um, and I will let you all take it away.
All right. And I am going back to last year's background. Like I tried to go with something different and I just can't.
Yeah.
All right. So welcome to our presentation. I'm Martha. That's Devin.
Hi.
Um, Devin's amazing ID Charlotte is currently in the room. Mine, I don't even know where he is. He's probably like in a different room, but that's all right.
He's
So
moderating, Martha, so he probably won't be here.
he's pretending to moderate,
Okay, I just wanted
Oh,
to make
another
right?
session.
Like, let's just be straight.
Mhm.
All right. So, this is the result of a digital curriculum um, redesign through iLab, which is a branch of digital learning over at the Center for Distributed Learning at UCF. Huge shout out to Wendy and the iLab team, Joe Favell, the graphics team, Aaron and the video team, and of course, our amazing IDs, primarily Charlotte, Joe, and Jim. And of course, our course assistants. So, today's presentation and our project are really looking at the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals. So if you are interested, they are here. So you can just scan with your phone, it'll pop up. You can also Google, there's no shortage of SDG stuff out there. Oh, why is it giving me grief? All right, do you want to talk about stars or you want me to talk about stars?
Sure, I'll talk a little bit about STARS. Um, STARS is a rating system, and it is really looking at the uh, number of courses that have sustainability incorporated into them, among other things. And our rating right now is at silver. We would like to be at gold. It's one of the different things that the university is rated on where we um, get recognition. So, in order to help further that and encourage other people to be able to incorporate sustainability into their coursework, we can see your chat and everything.
Oh, sorry.
um, we developed a Canvas course that has the module for each of the we combined into each module three of the different SDGs. And we felt this was important because it would make a kind of a plug and play opportunity for people to pull this content into their own courses. You can talk a little bit about this slide if you'd like.
Yeah, so one of the things we were focused on, and again, some of you are from UCF, so you may be familiar, we only have a silver rating. Others of you are at different campuses. You can go to ASHE and find what your campus's rating is. You do have to apply. So this isn't an automatic, it's not something that's happening without a university pursuing it. So UCF has been trying to get gold for apparently a really, really long time. And I know that because when my chair was with the dean's office forever ago, this was something they were trying to do. So it was something that was important to our current provost back when he was a dean, and something that UCF really has been striving for a really long time. So we currently have silver. We're trying for gold. And some of the places that we've been having issues, of course, is literacy assessment, developing new courses. Um, Again, you can see our learning outcomes. We're only at a 0.23 out of 8. Our academic courses, all of this. So the point of this project actually grew out of a faculty center uh, teaching and learning community, and then turned into a curriculum redesign, and now it's kind of taken its own legs, moving in a variety of different directions. It combos the web course Devin was talking about as well as Pressbooks, hence Jim, Charlotte. So that is where that piece fits. The idea is once the modules are built, they'll be shared to the digital commons. The material widgets are all being given ownership to iLab so that no matter what faculty are around, somebody over at CDL will be able to help faculty incorporate these into their curriculum. So, as Charlotte said, part of the modules involve games, graphics, videos, uh, Pressbook chapters that can be inserted when they're done, ideas, all sorts of things. We too are a big fan of ThingLinks, although we do not have quite the mad skills that Charlotte has. We do have a ton of Genially. So if you have not used Genially, I would strongly encourage you to check it out because it's actually pretty cool. That said, right now UCF has ThingLinks embedded into Canvas, which makes it really user friendly for faculty, designers, and pretty much everyone. So we used a mix of AI generated images, which you'll see, graphics from my buddy Joe. So Joe Favell is not here today. Some of you were in my session yesterday where he presented with us. And I will be sharing resources later on AI generated images if you don't have access to your own Joe, that sort of thing, and want to go that route. So here are two of the images that Joe did for me. We did a Citronaut WALL-E mashup, and you might be like, WALL-E sustainability, haha. Actually, we didn't come up with that. I pulled students. And students overwhelmingly in the yellow dig went WALL-E. And one student, as you'll see in the top, actually drew an image, put it in the yellow dig. I gave it to Joe, and Joe actually created this based on the student's inspiration. So we have our Nitro, which is the UCF mascot, with the sword in the ground, and then flowers and greenery going up over him. WALL-E was a huge hit. Like the students just rallied around it. And I mean, who doesn't like WALL-E? But if you think about it, this makes sense. Our students were largely born in 2004, 2005. I personally, when my son was young, watched WALL-E more times than I could count. And, the music, the WALL-E, the whole shebang. We had the toys, you name it. Within each one, we also tied this to AAC learning objectives as well as the ASHE learning objectives. Why? Both for Devin and I, it's important that everything ties back into AAC and U, since they kind of set the bar or the path, if you will. We also related it to NACE. Devin and I both have high impact courses. We care a lot about NACE learning objectives. So we wanted to make sure that everything we did wasn't just about sustainability, that it tied into, hey, students, here are some really practical ways for you to kind of make these connections of WALL-E to sustainability to my class or Devin's class or whoever's class. And then also, hey, here's how it relates to jobs, right? I mean, this is a huge part of it.
This career readiness with the NACE is how can they incorporate this, what they're learning in their courses with the sustainability integrated into their future careers. And just going back to the AAC and U involvement, one good thing about that is they do have the value rubrics, and you can pull nationally normed criterion from those value rubrics for assessment purposes. So that's very helpful because in terms of how to grade them or how to assess them on their outcomes.
Yeah, and if you're not aware, you can download all of those for free. So just go to AAC&U. Someone on your campus, trust me, has them all. They are bulky, I'm not going to lie. But the other cool thing, when you register to download the value rubrics, you go on the mailing list. They have tons of conferences. I've been to multiple, going to the one in Puerto Rico next week. And they are really, really good conferences. And it's a nice mix of faculty, admin, different campus orgs, instructional design, the whole shebang. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so as we started thinking about what we wanted for our outcomes, what we wanted students to learn, we started to think, well, how can we get there? How can we organize these modules and make it useful for faculty? Something that we kind of called plug and play. You could just import the Canvas module into your own course and decide how you want to use it, if you want to use all of it, if you want to use some of it. Um, However you think it fits best with your own course. That was our goal. And Martha came up with the idea of grouping SDGs into like modules. So we have, the first one is poverty, hunger, and health, basically our own well-being. And so that's this module you see. And we wanted to give information about ways that faculty could foster student engagement, um, give an overview of the learning objectives for each of these modules, and then provide a pretty detailed instructor guide. So how can you teach this? So that's
Yeah.
what this slide is. I don't know if everybody can see your speaker gallery is kind of overlapped there. Yeah, I don't know where it can go, but yeah,
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
the idea. Yeah, and so, right, you have a lot of information, you have objectives, you have outcomes, you have assignments, you have everything that you need. And you can import this and use it as you see fit, adapt it for your own course and your own use.
And one of the reasons for grouping, we tried to go with courses, right? So if you're teaching medicine, what are the kinds of SDGs that might be relevant to your course? If you're teaching history, what kind of things might be relevant? So we tried to group them by like. Although, again, the idea is eventually you could download them all and mix and match and play with them to your heart's content. And again, the Materia widget. So, Materia, just so you know, if you're not from UCF, is a UCF internal product. I do not know if we can share that. So, I don't know if Deborah or one of the IDs knows. Some of the things that we've created in-house, we were able to share in the past because the way Canvas works. Some things we can't because it doesn't work outside our system. But if you're interested, just ask one of the IDs and we can kick it up and find out from you. I mean, for you, if that's possible. But it's basically a game. An alternate could be Genially. You could probably create a game in mixing in Canvas because you can do videos and pictures and Canvas quizzes. I will say it does not respond to emoji well, and I'm not sure if new quizzes would get you there because I haven't played in that yet. So that's instructional design questions, not me things. I come up with all sorts of things, and then IDs are like, yeah, no. So, there's a lot of things in my head that don't necessarily translate. So, obviously, each one we have Materia widgets, which again is the game/assessment. Although I think you could do your assessment in Canvas quite easily using the quiz feature. Blackboard might be a little trickier because I haven't played in Blackboard since we moved to Canvas, but it may be still something you could do in the quiz feature, like the surveys. And it also, again, has Genialese, thing links, the whole shebang. So let's talk about what students think. This is a word cloud made from students last semester who completed the Intro to Sustainability module. So once I'm done with modules, I like to give them to students, get feedback. Once I have about 600 students complete it, which I'm right about there now, then I start tweaking. So I like to get feedback both fall and spring because fall students seem to be a little different when it comes to data. So I asked students after completing it in a few words, what's the most important way higher ed contributes to sustainability? And overwhelmingly, as you saw in that word cloud, the responses reflect that students really do think that this is important. They feel that higher ed has a role in teaching sustainability, that it is crucial not only for kind of social awareness, social issues, but also for the job market. And that may be because we put such an emphasis on jobs in our modules. The last question I asked on my survey was for a sustainable selfie. So I asked them to give me, a couple of words, at most a brief one-sentence description of what sustainability means to them after completing this module. Overwhelmingly, it did exactly what we want, that there's this broad understanding that it's not just about environmental education, right? I think we all get that, right? Sustainability is related to the kind of classes that teach sustainability stuff, right? Like, growing more oysters, planting trees, clean rivers. I don't teach any of that. I teach psychology. Like, that's what I do. So, what I'm looking for is students are able to take this kind of idea of the social, whoa, hey, Tiger, the social responsibility and economic considerations, concepts like justice, that sort of thing. So it's really cool that what we created translates what we were looking for. You'll still see a lot of the words here are green, which means we still have some ways to go. And that's probably going to be done through examples of me like creating, something, maybe a Genially or a ThingLink with different examples of how things work.
Right. Social sustainability is really the area that you're talking about, which is, really about creating equitable societies where our basic human needs are met and our human rights are respected, that type of thing. And people don't always think about sustainability in terms of social sustainability. And, there's also the economic sustainability aspect of it as well. So those are really the three different areas: environmental, which is what we all think about automatically, social, and then economic.
Yeah. And again, we've included examples in the instructor side, but based on student feedback, we may want to include some of this even on the student side of, if you're in physics, here's an example of how this comes into play. If you were in med school, this is how it comes into play, so that it's clearer to students just how broad the concepts are. As mentioned, NACE is important. Go ahead, Devin.
No, I was gonna say, so we have a whole listing of example assignments that faculty can pull into their courses and adapt however they see fit. And I literally went from A to Z and covered every topic that I could think of. And one of the one with physics came from a physics professor stopping by a poster presentation that we were doing last year and saying, well, how does this relate to physics? And I said, well, I had, in my undergrad years, I had 2 years of physics, and this is how I see it integrating. And said, oh, okay. And to me, it was kind of a no-brainer, but you can't always assume that other people will integrate it the same way. So just giving ideas and examples is a huge step towards people pulling this into their own coursework and being able to check that box that they have covered something about sustainability in their curriculum. And it better prepares the students for their careers once they graduate.
Yep. UCF, we have LinkedIn Learning free to students through the Career Service Center. They also can embed it into Canvas, and you can assign LinkedIn Learning courses as credit. There are quite a few on sustainability. And what's really cool, again, it ties in with architecture, technology, professionalism. There's a ton for business. So no matter what course it is you're teaching, there are these really low-hanging fruit, easy embeddable assessments that you can just plug in. The nice thing about this as well, students can then take that list of all their LinkedIn Learning courses to the Career Center, and they help them put that into a CV resume worthy blurb, which is pretty cool. So again, that relates nicely to our NACE outcomes as well, and help students realize, okay, all of this is important now. It's not just about clean water, it's about how we're building, how we're farming, how we're doing things.
Well, yeah, this is another one that's talking about the different embedded widgets that you can use and the opportunities for you to add sustainability to your courses. So like we've said before, each module does contain several of these. Charlotte was great with helping us with ThingLink interactive maps on our campus, but really anybody could do those and add them. So you're welcome to, you can pull those into your course and use it. And then there's the LinkedIn Learning classes and videos like Martha was just talking
Yep.
about.
And if you're not sure if your school is paying for LinkedIn Learning, hit up Career Services, because that's where ours was housed, and it just got put into Canvas this year. And we've had it for like 4. So it was one of those things, if you know, you know, and if you don't, well. So there's that. All right, so let's get to the real meat. So I gave you some of that kind of qualitative, feel good, word clouds, because I like a word cloud. But let's look at kind of the meat and potatoes. So overall, how satisfied were you with the module? Overwhelmingly, students were satisfied. How much did they learn? It looks like there's some room for improvement there. Again, this is why I beta test before I just put it out there. It's important to kind of see what students think, how things can be improved, what more it needs, what direction I should be going. Interestingly, I was kind of surprised by this, because video is usually one of those things. The video team, their person on the street interview, incredible. One of my favorite videos they've made. And yet, graphics in this case, yes, I had 2 of Joe's thing, but he was swamped, and the rest I generated. Not necessarily my best work, but whatever. So it's interesting that they like the graphics better. One thing I wonder about is everything now, right? Since the apocalypse, we're video, video, video. I don't think students have even taken a class without video since 2020. And I wonder if they're just over video, or maybe it's just too long. This is a TikTok cohort. I'm not sure anything over 30 seconds. And I mean, it's not just them. And Charlotte's ThingLink, I watched a minute video, and I'm not gonna lie, halfway through, I'm like, how long is this video, and can I watch on 3 times speed? And I don't even watch TikToks. So maybe this is a shortening in attention span in the United States. I don't know. And maybe it's the way I presented it. Like, there's things to consider here. All right, here's the real one. So I always ask this, I ask this about my classes. I ask it, tells the truth of it, right? Would you recommend if you did something really wrong? overall, I've got a bunch of probably yes. Like you can clearly see students are leaning in the right direction. I'd like to see more definitely yes, which means there's work to be done. As soon as we get this module down, it'll be time to beta test the next one. And once that one's solid, then it's just slam bam. All right. I don't believe the videos are going to work. I also don't believe we have time, but I don't think it's going to work. Like I need to fix the link, but I'll fix it before I post the deck, which I don't know who I'm giving my deck to. I'm assuming Charlotte. All right. If you are looking on ways to integrate sustainability into your curriculum, the deck has a link on 10 ways to integrate sustainability. I would suggest you look at it. There also are several press books, and ASHE has their own kind of ways of integrating if you are looking at that. If you are part of the committee on your campus to be pursuing STARS ratings, I would check out ASHE's recommendations. Again, there's a lot of the criteria that we're not even bothering with because we haven't done anything. So gold is a long way off for us, but hopefully this moves us in the right direction. So let's go to questions and comments because I think we're right about that time. Susie, I can't check my chat because I'm sharing the screen.
Yeah, it's about 2:34, so I mean about 10 minutes maybe.
That's what I
Questions?
think.
There you go.
I'm going to stop share so we can go to questions/comments, unless I'm still sharing.
No, you're not. You're good.
Yes. All right, questions, comments.
I saw one from Amy Darty, and she was asking how we can get acknowledgement for having incorporated sustainability into our course so that it counts towards that ASHE score or improvement.
Fantastic question. All right, so Amy, this one has come up quite a bit around campus. So at one point, there was somebody asked Kim if we could make it like a sort of hip. Kim's like, get away from my hips. And since I do a lot with Kim on her hips, I know exactly why she did that, and I'm with her. The idea would be that at some point there'd be badging. So this would go through Ryan, I think is our new like STARS environmentally person, Ryan Shabbat. Is that how we say his last name? Devin, as something like that.
Yeah, in the Arboretum.
Yeah, but he's not Arboretum. He's the environmental whatever person on campus. So he works with Arboretum, but it's a different position. It's specifically for STARS and other environmental initiatives on campus. So the idea would be that you would fill out an application like you would for high impact practice designation or career service designation. You'd send it to Ryan. Ryan would be like, check, 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 badge. And that way you'd get a badge. It would go on your annual report, etc. And the university would be keeping track of it. That said, I'm not sure Brian has done much about it. And the reason I say that is because I put him in touch with my chair, who was part of the initial STARS thing, and he never actually reached out to him. So, right? Because I would totally do that. And I'm not even crazy about badges, but, you know, I do. So, I mean, my class already meets it, so of course I fill out the paperwork. And again, you know, I pull students a lot, as you know, and to them, this is important. And they also see it as important for the job market. Like they're looking at it as, you know, this is here, but, you know, I shop based on this, I buy products based on this. I'm going to choose my employment based on this. Like I don't want to work for a company dumping sludge in the water. So for students, this is actually a really important issue.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, and it really is going to affect kind of where they look for jobs, the type of jobs they go for, because it's important to them. And I think as a university, we've got to recognize that, right? And you're right, we're already there, Amy. It's just somebody needs to take point, and not me or you. But yeah, I would love that, right? Or we could even work it into like parts of the GEP.
Yeah.
That said, is everyone in here from Florida?
I don't know.
Okay, so they're just so you know, like I don't think we're allowed to say the word sustainability, so we actually need to find synonyms for some of this and redo our module since that passed. But this is an issue across the board, right?
Mhm.
This is Florida. Florida's Florida. Oh, thanks, Amy, for sharing the GitHub on the material widgets. And again, what I'm trying to do with these, we went through the process so that CDL is the owner. I mean, I'm the owner, but I turned it all over to Nick and iLab so that I know, right, Charlotte? I'm like, Nick, you need
Well,
to be.
no, I'm so glad to hear that because honestly, the last I had heard about Materia was that the institution that you were sharing it with had to have its own instance. So I didn't realize that you could share it. So I'm like, yes, I'm so glad that's finally a thing. Yay, Materia.
Yeah. So, and that's it. So you basically, the requests still have to go out, but we can centralize it where it's going into iLab for the plug and play portion. Because I'm like, you've got me doing all this stuff. I've created all these cool things, but I can't share the assessment part, which is what faculty want, whether it's extra credit or your financial aid activity. So it's a thing. And then Charlotte, to go to your question about surprising connections, I have a mountain of data on this, and it comes into play in a pretty significant way. Like, oh yeah, no. So I'll share with you, and I think Innovation Summit, Flo and I are talking about some of it with smart cities and kind of students' expectations on the role of technology and sustainability together for future. They have strong feelings. Like this is not lukewarm.
That's really interesting. And I also put it connections between sustainability and potential disconnections. Was there anything that you guys discovered there that maybe, was something that we could work on?
Yeah, there is. So I know you will all be shocked that this correlated significantly with socioeconomic status. One of the demographic questions I ask is, do you identify as a minority group member? So it loads with that.
Also with the political parties.
Yeah, political party packed a punch, although most of our students are extreme. So, but where they were, it definitely had an impact. So there needs to be some more digging there. Yeah, no, we're presenting at an international conference, so I think we're cool. But yeah, no, it was interesting. And but socioeconomic status packs a punch. And that's really not surprising when you think about it, because if you're worried about survival and living and eating, it's really, really hard to worry about, Finland using bioluminescent paint for their bike lane. You know what I mean? It's just such a
Someone just mentioned that in the chat during the keynote that Bloom's taxonomy has to come before Maslow's, or sorry, other way around. Sorry, Maslow has to come before Bloom's. I'm like, ugh, yeah, that is so true.
And that is 100% it. Sustainability is almost a luxury when it comes to Maslow, right? Like there's that joke with Wi-Fi at the top. But it kind of is, right? If you're worried about a lot of the basic things sustainability targets, quality to education, gender parity, violence towards marginalized groups, food, health, it's really hard to be worried about the environment. It just is. If you're worried about dying of tuberculosis, it's really hard to be like, oh, somebody should recycle that bottle. Um, or a couple, like not last summer, the summer before, I went to Ghana with my son's pediatrician. So she does like a health outreach. And she and her husband were like, oh no, we got to recycle. Like, no, people have no food. You can't worry about starting a recycling program when people have no food. And then they were like, well, they're not med compliant because they don't take their meds when we're not here. I'm like, how are they supposed to get them? Like, you're asking them to walk 5 miles up the road, get a bus into a town that's like 45 minutes away, find money, get, medicine, and then come all the way back. It's like a 2-day thing. Like, how this is not running to Target or Walgreens or CVS, as most of us are stuck at CVS, to get our drugs. This is a big deal. You're asking them to give up 2 days and money that they don't have to get pills. Like, of course they're not med compliant. And they were like, oh, I never thought of that. And I'm like, you're a medical doctor. Like, this is part of what you have to think about when it comes to access. And it's the same when it comes to technology, right? So I know we've had these discussions before about tech access within groups. And I do poll students on that too, like how many have access to stable internet. And I'm teaching only online, and I've got a decent amount of students who do not have access to stable internet.
Well, and I feel like that ties into what Amy just posted, that there's this huge difference between rural versus urban discussion.
Yes. And that's exactly it, right, Amy? So it's a very different thing to look at. And again, I mean, a school like UCF, and it's come up before, we're the size of a city. And yet we have urban students, and we also have students who are not. So I think it's trying to, we can't make all education one size fits all, but we also can't tailor it to every single need. So it really is.
For me, when I incorporated some of these assignments and this content into my course, I had the students do an assignment that I wrote about values, beliefs, and personal bias. And then I have them they identify their own values and their own beliefs and their own personal bias. And then I have them review a selection of SDGs, and they need to find one that connects to their own personal values.
Is that OER assignment from the fellowship?
Yeah, so we did a United Nations Open Pedagogy Fellowship where we wrote open educational resource assignments, and there's a whole library of those available. But it gave the students some reason to connect to it. If you don't see the value of something, it's just busy work. Yeah. So I think having that foundation for them was instrumental to motivating them to really dive in. And they did an active civil engagement. They wrote about it. They looked at images and had to analyze images for rhetorical context, this type of thing, where now they saw the value of it. And I always talk about the one student who posted an image of an upside down Publix shopping bag, the brown ones, floating in the water, looking like a jellyfish. And how, it is expensive for some people to buy the reusable shopping bags. so they just use those free bags instead. But I'll tell you, every single student, I think they're still like thinking twice when they accept one of the free public shopping bags. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to just throw it in the trash? Are they going to recycle it? So it really kind of hit home for a lot of students. And I think for us as faculty, that's the key, is to help them understand how it connects to what they value. And not only in their daily lives, but also moving forward in their professional lives.
Yeah. And Amy, if you're interested, I don't know if Rebecca's still looking for people, but you can reach out to Rebecca McNulty about this summer's upcoming UM pedagogy open. It's a lot of
Yes. Yeah, it's an open pedagogy fellowship, but it will start again.
pedagogy fellowship with. Yeah, no, it's a lot of words, but just be like, Amy, Martha, told me or Rebecca, Martha told me to call you
Any
about.
faculty can participate, and they pair you with a faculty member from another institution around the world, and you work with different disciplines and you create assignments based on specific targets within the SDG goals. It's a great opportunity.
It is. So I was, oh, good. Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, I was paired with somebody in Canada who's kinesiology. So, absolutely nothing to do with psychology in Florida. But it worked really well. And it allowed us to really kind of think about who our student populations were, which somehow were pretty similar, even though our campus was more rural. But it worked well. So, yeah, I would give that 2 thumbs up. And if you're interested, anybody else, there are a ton of resources online again for OER, because there's some question there too, right? Is OER obviously is more sustainable in the sense that it gives access to education. That said, faculty have issues with OER. And again, I participated in that and I'm good with OER assignments. I don't know how good I am with an OER test bank or textbook. So,
Martha and Devin, thank you very much. We're at time about, and so thank you. If you have questions or comments, I'm sure Martha and Devin would be happy to answer them. And so it was an amazing presentation and we learned a lot. Thank you so very much. And we're going to take a little break and our next session will be at 3 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
you are welcome. And who are we sharing the decks with? Do we know?
Yeah, share them with me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I figured. I didn't want to assume.